Welcome to Alma Tales Lab, where lying wives and sneaky girlfriends finally get exposed. From girls' trips that never happened to coworkers who were a little too friendly, we break down every red flag, messy receipt, and suspicious text with humor, shock, and just a little bit of petty. Expect wild stories, dramatic reactions, and satisfying karma as the truth comes crashing through the door. If you love relationship tea, plot twists, and seeing players get played, this channel is your new home. Every single chaotic, jaw-dropping, binge-worthy episode. Hit subscribe and never miss a fresh dose of exposed cheating. Don't forget to check our previous stories. Let's get into it. The cruelest thing Simone Brooks ever did was stand up in a private dining room downtown, call me useless like it was a punchline, slide the engagement ring off her finger, and drop it into my palm while her friends recorded. Here's how it happened. I'm Malachi Turner, black man, early 30s, the kind who keeps his voice level even when his chest is on fire. I work in commercial property management, the quiet kind of job that keeps buildings running and problems invisible. Simone is a branding consultant with a smile that can fill a room and a temper that can freeze one. When Simone and I first met in Chicago, she had this laugh that made strangers turn their heads. We met at a Summer Street festival near Bronzeville, and she teased me for being too serious about barbecue sauce like it was a moral issue. I teased her back for judging people by their shoes. She loved that I listened, really listened, and I loved that she could find humor in almost anything. Our early dates were simple, late-night diners, long walks along the lake, and a running joke about how I pronounced croissant like it was a finance term. She had a way of making ordinary moments feel like scenes. One night, she tried to teach me salsa in our living room and kept stepping on my toes, laughing so hard she couldn't breathe. I pretended to be offended and told her I was filing a complaint with the Department of Feet. She stuck a Post-it on my forehead that said Certified Grandpa. I wore it proudly while making pancakes the next morning, and she took pictures like she discovered a rare bird. Back then, the teasing felt warm. It felt like love had room to be playful. The first time I noticed the edge in her humor, it was small enough to ignore. We were at a rooftop brunch in the West Loop with two of her friends, Lena and Patrice. The server asked what I did for work, and I started to explain, simple and clear. Simone cut in with a bright laugh and said, "He's basically maintenance, but he likes to make it sound fancy." Her friends chuckled. I smiled because I didn't want to be that guy who turns brunch into a lecture. But something in my stomach tightened like a knot being pulled. Later, in the car, I told her I didn't love how that sounded. Simone kept her eyes on the road and said, "Relax. It's a joke. You are so sensitive sometimes." She made it feel like my discomfort was the problem, not her words. That became a pattern, her comments, my silence, then her acting like I was asking for too much if I wanted basic respect. I started measuring my reactions, editing myself, choosing the calm option because calm was the only thing that kept me from breaking in half. When we moved in together, I paid most of the upfront cost because I had savings and steady income. Simone was building her business, and I believed in her. I also believed in us. I remember carrying boxes up the stairs while she directed me like a project manager, calling out, "Fragile," and "Don't crush my dreams," like she was a comedian on a stage. I laughed so hard I almost dropped a lamp. That night, we ate pizza on the floor and made future plans like we were writing a private script. The condo we eventually bought wasn't glamorous from the outside, but inside it felt clean and new and ours. Simone wanted something photogenic, something she could film content in without apologizing for the background. I handled the paperwork because my credit was strong and I knew the process. She promised we would add her name once everything settled. I told her we were a team and didn't press it. The truth is, I liked being dependable. I liked being the person she could lean on. I didn't realize she was also learning how to stand on my shoulders without thanking me. The disrespect grew in stages, like a storm that starts as a breeze. At a friend's birthday dinner, Simone came late and blamed me for not motivating her. When I quietly said I had texted twice, she waved her hand and told the table, "Malachi likes to act like a victim. It is his hobby." People laughed because it was easier than pushing back. I laughed too, the tight kind that doesn't reach your eyes. Later, She posted a picture of us and captioned it, "Building my empire like I was a piece of furniture." She started using my calm as proof that I had no backbone. If I didn't argue, I was weak. If I tried to speak up, I was doing too much. At a family cookout on the South Side, her aunt asked if I was still doing that little building job. Simone smiled and said, "He is stable, and that is his entire personality." Everyone chuckled. I helped grill the food anyway, because that's who I am. Karma arrived quietly that day. Her aunt's car battery died, and the little building job guy was the one who jumped it. Simone did not thank me. She acted like my help was automatic, like it came with the air. On the drive home, she said, "See, you're useful when you stay in your lane." It hit me then that she wasn't joking anymore. She was ranking me. She was shrinking me. And she liked how it looked when I folded myself down to fit her story. I didn't sleep much that night. I stared at the ceiling and tried to remember when love turned into a performance I had to pass to keep peace. The next humiliation came at a networking mixer in River North. Simone brought me along because she said it was good optics to look supported. I wore a clean suit, kept my smile polite, shook hands, and let her shine. Then I heard her telling a circle of people, "I'm basically self-made. My partner is sweet, but he doesn't really bring much to the table." I felt my face go hot, but I didn't interrupt. Karma hit fast and ordinary. Her phone died mid-pitch, and she didn't have a charger. Guess who did? She took it without a thank you. Not long after, she started floating a new name in her stories. Marcus. Marcus says I should raise my rates. Marcus knows a guy at the bank. Marcus understands ambition. I asked who Marcus was, calmly, no accusation. She looked at me like I was an inconvenience and said, "A professional contact. Don't be insecure." Then she laughed and added, "This is why you will always be small." The funny part, if it wasn't so painful, was that she used my kindness as evidence I was unimportant. Like stability was something to mock. One Friday, she came home with a shiny shopping bag and told me she bought herself a celebration gift. I asked what we were celebrating. She said me. Then she glanced around the condo and asked why the living room still had cheap energy. I reminded her I'd been covering the mortgage while she reinvested in her business. She tilted her head and said, "If you were a real man, you'd do that without talking about it." That night, I ate leftover pasta alone while she edited videos in the bedroom with the door shut like I didn't exist. The abandonment part was quieter than people imagine. It wasn't her packing bags with dramatic music. It was her letting me become invisible in our own home. She stopped asking about my day. She stopped touching my arm when she passed me in the kitchen. If I tried to plan something, movie night, a weekend trip, she rolled her eyes and said, "I don't have time for small dreams." Karma showed up in tiny ways. She forgot her laptop at home before a big client meeting, and I drove it downtown through traffic without complaining. She called it bare minimum. I started noticing how she treated others when she thought it was safe. She snapped at the waitstaff. She spoke over her younger cousin. She corrected people loudly, like she needed an audience for her superiority. And still, around strangers, she was sunshine. That switch made me question my own reality. When you live with someone who can be charming in public and cruel in private, you start wondering if you're the only one seeing the truth. I kept receipts in my head, dates, comments, moments, because something told me I might need them. The ring situation started as a hope, not a trap. I've been saving quietly, not flashy, because I wanted a future that didn't depend on mood. I bought the ring from a small jeweler in Oak Park who treated me with respect and asked what kind of love story I want to tell. I told him one that lasts. He nodded like he understood. I kept the box in my desk drawer, tucked behind documents and spare keys, and I pictured a simple proposal. Just us, no crowd, no performance. Simone would not allow simple. She planned the dinner herself. "My friends want to celebrate with us," she said, like she was doing me a favor. She picked the steakhouse, the private room, and the perfect lighting. She told me what to wear. She told me where to stand when we walked in. It felt less like a milestone and more like a set. I almost backed out, but I told myself I was overthinking. I told myself love requires patience. I told myself the best version of Simone would show up when it mattered. That night, the worst version arrived early. Before dessert, she tapped her glass and stood up, smiling like she was accepting a prize. She started with compliments about herself, how hard she worked, how she overcame doubt, how she built her brand from nothing. Then she turned to me and said, "And I learned something too. I learned I cannot drag dead weight into the life I deserve." People laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was shocking and nobody wanted to be the first to challenge her. When she said, "useless," the room felt smaller. I tasted metal in my mouth. I still pulled the ring out. Not because I thought it would fix anything, but because I needed the moment to be real, to stop floating. I opened the box and asked her quietly, "Is this what you want?" Simone stared at the ring like it offended her. Then she did it. She slid her own ring off, one I'd given her earlier as a promise, and dropped it into my palm. "I don't want to be engaged to a man I have to carry," she said. Her eyes were calm. No remorse. No softness. Just control. I walked out without raising my voice. Outside, the city air hit my face like cold water. I stood on the sidewalk and tried to breathe like my lungs hadn't been stolen. My phone buzzed with messages I didn't open. I went home and sat on the edge of the bed we shared, still holding the ring like it weighed more than metal. Simone didn't come home until late. When she did, she moved around the condo like a winner returning from a game. "Don't be dramatic," she said. "We both know you weren't enough." The weeks after were slow, deep suffering, the kind that doesn't look dramatic from the outside, but tears you up inside. Simone told people I was jealous, lazy, insecure. She told my co-workers, through mutual connections, that I couldn't handle a successful woman. Some friends stopped replying. A couple people asked me what happened, but they didn't really want the truth. They wanted a quick story they could swallow. Simone's mother called and said, "You should have known your place." Simone overheard and laughed, loud, like it was entertainment. No remorse, just applause for cruelty. Simone's cruel treatments kept coming, and karma kept answering. Never as a miracle, always as consequence. She insisted I move out immediately, then realized her name wasn't on the utility accounts and she couldn't switch them fast. She tried to lock me out, then discovered the building required the owner's authorization for access changes. She bragged online about being free, then called me the next morning because her car wouldn't start and she had an early meeting. I sent roadside assistance information and went back to work. She called me petty. I called it boundaries. Her professional contact. Marcus became less mysterious when I saw him in our lobby one afternoon, acting too comfortable. Simone didn't introduce him. She just said, "He's helping me." Marcus looked me up and down like I was furniture and gave a smirk that made my skin crawl. 2 weeks later, karma did what it does. Marcus missed an important presentation, and Simone had to cover alone. She told everyone it was fine, but I heard her on the phone later, furious because the same man she praised for ambition didn't show up when it counted. She blamed me anyway. I didn't get a dramatic revenge moment. I got clarity one quiet day at a time. I started therapy after work, sitting in a small office on the north side, learning how to name what I'd been living with. I started going to the gym early, not to prove anything, but to feel my body belonged to me again. I stopped checking Simone's social media. I ate real meals. I slept in full nights for the first time in months. My life got smaller in a good way. Private routines, private healing, private strength. Then came the call that revealed the real twist. 3 months after the dinner, Simone called like she was ordering food. "Malachi, I need you to sign something today." No greeting, no apology, no acknowledgement of the damage, just a demand. She said she was closing a major deal, and her lawyer needed quick signatures. I asked what was. She sighed like I was slow and said, "It's condo-related. It's just paperwork. Do not make this complicated." That was the moment I understood she never saw me as a partner, only a tool she could pick up. I opened the email and read every page carefully. It wasn't just paperwork. It was an affidavit and consent tied to her business financing. Her company filings used our condo as the official address. Her bank application leaned on that stability. Her investor wanted proof of occupancy and ownership clarity. And there it was in black and white, the owner's signature line. Mine, the one thing I owned, the one thing I handled quietly when I believed in us, was now the one thing she needed to keep her next chapter from collapsing. Simone had built her image on my foundation, then try to mock me off the stage. Karma didn't require me to yell. It required me to stop, saving her from consequences. I replied with one sentence. I will not be signing. My attorney will handle future communication. Simone called back immediately, voice sharpened into anger. You are really going to sabotage me? She snapped, like she was the victim of my boundaries. I told her I wasn't sabotaging anything. I was simply not participating. She laughed, cold, ugly. This is why you are useless, she said again, like repeating it could make it true. No remorse, even then, just entitlement. The fallout was fast and realistic. Her investor paused. The bank asked questions. Her lawyer requested alternate documentation she couldn't produce quickly. Simone tried to file new paperwork with a different address, but it triggered new verifications. She tried to rent a fancy office, but the timeline didn't match the deal's deadline. She complained to anyone who would listen that I was controlling. The same friends who laughed at that dinner started avoiding her calls once the momentum stalled. Marcus disappeared when the situation got complicated. Simone did not reflect. She did not apologize. She blamed everyone else like blame was oxygen. My success stayed private, exactly how I needed it. I didn't post about peace. I just lived it. I moved out on my timeline, not hers, into a clean apartment in Hyde Park where nobody knew our story. I focused on work and earned a promotion that came with more responsibility and better pay, the kind of win that feels quiet and solid. I rebuilt my savings. I took weekend drives to clear my head. I laughed again, real laughter, at dumb movies and burnt toast and my own stubbornness. Healing didn't look dramatic. It looked steady. I still have the ring, not because I want Simone back, but because it reminds me of the turning point. She tried to humiliate me publicly, then discovered I was never as powerless as she wanted me to be. Every cruel treatment she threw at me came with a consequence she couldn't control. The man she called useless stopped rescuing her. The last thing I heard about Simone was that she had to start over and was furious about it. Furious at timing, furious at paperwork, furious at everyone except herself. I didn't celebrate out loud. I just went home, locked my door, and slept in peace. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.